Hello, everyone. How's it going? Happy Thursday. Almost said Friday. I wish it was Friday.
Do any of us know what day of the week it is
I
anymore?
honestly do not know.
Truthfully.
I live by my Google Calendar. So I'm so excited about today because we have the one and only Alex here from Pinterest to give us all the best practices. So for those who don't know me, I'm Polly. I'm the founder of Black Women Photographers, and I'm a part of Pinterest's first ever, creative program. And so I'm so excited to be able to, amplify Black women photographers on the platform with the help of Alex and her incredible team. And so I asked her if she'd be willing to just give us all some best practices as we use the platform and just be smarter about it this year, and really just take a full advantage of what it all has to offer. So thank you, Alex.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to come and be able to talk to everyone. I'll keep the presentation, Polly. As you know, I'm very casual. So if people have questions, just raise your hand, drop them in the chat. We'll definitely have time in the hour to answer those questions. And if there's anything that I can't answer that we can't get to, I'll be sure to get back to you. Polly, we can just sort of sync as a channel through you, any questions or follow-ups that come. Sound good?
Amazing. That sounds wonderful. And for those who normally haven't, joined, I normally ask people to, drop their location in the chat. This time, I love if you can drop your Pinterest in the chat, where we can all see how you use the platform and follow each
Awesome.
other.
So let me see. I need to share my screen, right? Let me just share my desktop. Is that all right, Polly, if I get started?
All yours. Go ahead.
Okay. Tell me if you can see my screen. It'll be all of us. Oh, not yet. Oh, because you're recording. I might have to send this to you and then have you present if that's okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't realize. Go.
No, that's fine. Like truthfully, we don't use Zoom, so that's why I have no idea how it works. But I'm going to just share this with you and then I'll drop the link.
And then try it again though. Let me see. Just in case. Did that work this time?
For me to share my screen.
Yeah, because I think maybe I just didn't have it right in the settings.
Let's see if I can share this. There, did that work?
Yay, yes.
Okay, great. Okay. How do I do this? Perfect. Alrighty, let me get started and present here. Okay, can you see this?
Looks great.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. So like I said, if there are questions, now that I'm presenting, I realized I can't see the chat, but there will be plenty of time to answer questions at the end. But I want to just take you through how we use Pinterest. And over the last, I would say, 2 years, we've started to understand that not only are people coming to Pinterest for inspiration, but creators are coming to Pinterest to find the audiences looking for that inspiration. And we have, just by the nature of the people and the intention they have when they come and visit Pinterest, an extremely engaged audience looking to learn new skills, find more detail in, a hobby or habit they're currently looking to learn, and find inspiration that they might have not even considered yet. So, oh, here we go. We're going to go through a few points today. And Polly, there's just people jumping in to be admitted. So I'm going to have you do that, if that's cool. Thank you. We're going to go through these agenda items today. So what is Pinterest? Why creators? I got into that briefly, how to get started and build your profile. And we're really going to talk about story pins today because that's a new product that we've launched that I'll be able to share a link at the end of this presentation where, should you wish to get started in using story pins, you'll have early access to it. And then we can talk about the Today tab and editorial integrations that we do with our creator partners. So why Pinterest? Our motto and our mission here at Pinterest is to bring everyone the inspiration to create a life they love. Now, I'm Alex. My role at Pinterest, I'm our global creator inclusion lead. So really my intention is to strive and work every single day to amplify that everyone piece. So I work with our partners that come from underrepresented backgrounds. I work with our product team to ensure that it's more inclusive and representative. And I try to find either editorial or monetized opportunities for our creators as partners to help them, make money with us on the platform by creating great content. We have over 440 million monthly active users. We really saw an extreme growth period last year at the start of quarantine, to be honest, with people coming for educational resources, cooking, trying to find new trends or things to try in the new normal we found ourselves in. And that is over 240 billion pins saved and over 5 billion boards created. So what is Pinterest? I've touched on this a bit, but it's a visual discovery engine. So when I ask you to think about Pinterest, I know a lot of people compare it to an Instagram, a TikTok, a social media platform, but truthfully, the value and impact of Pinterest is really more of almost like a Google or a YouTube, where you can go, you can search specific keywords and find visual answers to the questions that you have and the information that you're looking for. So when you're thinking about building on Pinterest, you want to think about that search engine optimization piece and growing and building your audience from that perspective. So Pinterest connects pinners to content they love. Again, just going back to that piece, you're going on to Pinterest, you're looking for the answer to a question. We are there to hopefully drive content in our response and in those searches to help you find content that you love. And why creators? Because we have over 440 million people coming to Pinterest to figure out what to do, buy, or try next. And the way that we connect with creators who inspire, we want them to connect with you and encourage them to try new things. And ultimately, without creators, there would be no Pinterest. Without sharing inspirational content, coming up with fresh ideas, teaching others new skills, we wouldn't have a platform. So we really want to do our best to enhance and amplify the content that you're creating and putting on Pinterest. How do you actually get started doing that? There are sort of 3 tiers here, and I'll share this out, Polly, with you after so that everybody can actually leverage these links depending on which bucket they fit in. The first one is starting a profile from scratch. So if you've never had one and you're here today and you're considering starting a profile, you can sign up and automatically get started with a business account. If you have a personal profile, but you want to consider how you can leverage Pinterest and the platform for your business, you can actually convert your personal profile to a business account. And if you already have a business account, we've got lots of board recommendations. And again, those tips on creating story pins. So these sort of slides will take you through the how-to of getting started. Of course, you want to download the app and sign up with your email, how to create your business account, build out your business profile. So actually customizing your profile with a description, a photo, and boards that represent your brand. And one of the biggest pieces here will be to claim your account. So if you have Instagram, YouTube, or you have an Etsy shop, claiming those accounts and being able to get access to analytics and to your website too, it will allow you to have that attribution on any content that is shared throughout Pinterest. So if somebody shares or saves to a board something from your Instagram or your YouTube or your Etsy, that attribution will come back to your Pinterest profile. And what that really means is that when somebody shares that photo or image, it will have a call to action to follow you as the owner of that content. Now, building out your Pinterest profile. We like to say your profile is your home on Pinterest, and it's the best expression of your identity on our platform. So we really encourage you to curate and create content that represents your inspirations. And you get started really by publishing pins and building boards. So publish and curate pins by importing your own content, that fresh net new content that's yours, and searching for things that inspire you on Pinterest and saving those pins to different boards within your profile. These are just some profile suggestions. You can see that there's so many different ways that you can get, excuse me, get started. It can be as high level as nails, and you're sharing nails that you love, cranium accessories, which is a quirky way of, accessories and different ways to spice up your face and your head. And then sculptural fun, something that's really inspirational to you. This might not necessarily be something you're creating, but it could be an inspirational board that you're saving. How do you actually organize your boards? It's so important that you organize your boards in a way, like I said, to drive that SEO and optimization, because ultimately that tells the audiences and pinners what the purpose of each board is. So when you're thinking about building a board, the name and description impact how your content shows up in the Pinterest search results. I'm going to say that again because we've had these situations come up in the past where people want, we're all creative people at heart, and they'll have something like the nails board that we saw in the previous example. Oh, excuse me, where they would have NAILS all spaced out because they want it to be creative. And we understand that, but that's not necessarily going to help with the optimization and the algorithm on Pinterest. So get creative with your names, but ensure that really it's targeted by the purpose of that board. And then you can go into more detail in your description. There's also an option to select categories with your boards, and that will help SEO. So if there are things like home, fitness, food, being able to select the category that best represents your board, and then showing your personality. So using your profile as a full 360 to showcase what inspires you. I always like to tell people that if you went to my Pinterest board right now and looked at not only my story pins and what I've created, but also what I've saved, you can get a bit of a pulse into where I'm at in my life, what I'm working on, what's currently inspiring me, and the goals that I've set. So it really helps tell your story. These are just a few profiles. And again, this will all be shared out with you. So you'll be able to kind of visit and play around with different inspirational profiles to kickstart your ideas. And then board thought starters, if you're not sure where to start, I know that these are more general than photography necessarily. And I've said it to Polly before, when you're thinking about creating for photography, you of course want to have a board that's maybe categorized by the different portfolio inspiration that you want to share or showcase if you're thinking about it as a visual resume. So you might have, a portraits board and maybe something that's more creative. But then you can also think outside of the box and think about having things that are educational, like how to set up the perfect indoor shot, and creating a story pin or adding other inspiration for that how-to or tutorial-based board content as well. So really what I'm trying to get at is not just thinking very linear, thinking outside of the box of how you can diversify your content on the platform as well. Again, these are just some actual board inspiration. So home inspiration, that could even be something as easy as like how to shoot in the home, how to shoot home content, how to shoot products that you love, food styling and photography, places to explore. You can play around with lighting and photography and providing information and saving from others in a board such as that. But the big piece I want to focus on today is really about story pins, because this is a new product we launched late last year. And what it allows you to do is tell a broader story on platform. So with a singular pin, or a static pin, as we call it, you have one image or one video frame. A story pin allows you to add up to 10 frames to tell a clear story with a beginning, middle, and end, and call to action. Like I said, we're multi-page pins that can combine video, photos, and text. So you don't need to just create, a carousel of photos. You can have a blend of video, photo with text overlay. And it will not only reach your followers, but it will also reach other people that are interested in your ideas. So it's expanding beyond your following on the platform. And like I said, really thinking about telling that full holistic story. So starting with a video or image that shows the final product so people know exactly what you're about to talk about, that text call to action to indicate what's coming, a video or image with what you need, a step-by-step process, and then finally an ending with the payoff. So seeing that final product again, and then a call to action to try it yourself. And then it always populates the creator follow page, which encourages audiences to follow your profile on Pinterest once they've gone through your story pin. I'll share a quick guide on how to create. It's going to seem like there are a lot of steps, but really we're taking you through everything from the beginning. So you tap your Pinterest app and you tap the plus sign to start creating. As I opt everybody in, if they're interested, we can get you involved in getting started with story pins, and you'll see the new tab in that create icon. Once you're in there, there's a little plus sign that allows you to start creating. So you can start capturing native content with the camera within Pinterest. So you can start from scratch in there, or you can upload photo and video yourself. The third step is after adding your first page, continue adding more. You can reorder pages, play around with them, delete as you go, and then we'll move you into the editing phase. This will allow you to add text. You can use that A icon at the bottom there to be able to add your text right here. You can choose font, create more than one text box if you need. We understand, and I think we can all recognize right now that accessibility is so important. So we notice that a lot of people are starting to use the text to actually add like closed captioning so people can see exactly what they're doing if they're not able to listen to the audio. You can add music, or like I said, audio, and you can either adjust the original audio if you recorded in your video, or you can add voiceover for additional details that lay over any music you might have added. And then you can adjust video quality. You can add filters, you can fix the lighting, you can adjust the size, and really play around with the story and how you want the look and feel of that story to be. Finally, when you're done, it's time to publish. And just like with a static pin, you add your title, the board you want to add it to, and then you can add things like ingredients, supplies, or products. So if you're taking somebody through a photography tutorial, like how to set up a studio at home, you can share those supplies in a detailed list that as they're going through the story pin on every single frame, it will have that call to action with the details for supplies they can tap into and explore exactly what they need to repeat and emulate what you're doing in the story pin. These are a few best in class options for you in some of like our, priority categories or our highest performing categories. Of course, when you're thinking about photography, I'll be able to look into that. And Polly, I'll share some nice photography story pin best practices for you as well. Now, a little tactical tip sheet. So look to this sheet when we share this out to set you up for creation success. We always say plan your story in advance. Know, the story that you're trying to tell is really what we're saying. What is the end goal you're hoping to get to, and how is that going to flow through the different story pin frames? Use video whenever possible, including on your cover page. The cover page can't be edited, so they can only be added, deleted, or reordered. So think really clearly with the first page that you're using. Shoot in vertical with a natural light. There's a max of 20 pages. Oh, that's new, actually. I thought it was 10. So there's a max of 20 pages, and it's 60-second video per page. And use text to provide more detail, but don't layer in links because that just feels cluttered. Lastly, you can save your story pin to any of your boards and be sure that you're publishing it in public versus in secret to maximize viewership. And tell a good story. We keep coming back to this because really the whole point of story pins was that we were recognizing that people wanted more content, more information within a creator's profile. So like I said, aim for that beginning, middle, and end. And when they're in digestible chunks in those different pages, it's way easier to follow and digest than if you have one long frame in a single story pin. And we typically recommend about 5 story pins to tell a good story when you're thinking about creating. And like we said, use video, of course. We all know that video is the way of the future, keeping them between 1 and 59 seconds. I always find that each video frame, if you're thinking about it, should be like 15 to 20 seconds if you can do that. If you have more or less, that's okay too. But it's really what helps you stand out and capture the pinner's attention. And make it personal. So, like we said, we want to let your personal voice shine. Use that voice overlay, get creative in the videos if you're featured in them too. Because what we're finding so often now with content creation is that audiences and pinners specifically don't only want to see what you're creating or the end result, they want more insight and more connection to the people behind it. We always say keep it focused. It doesn't have to be a super complex, piece. We say recipe here, but it doesn't have to be like a super complex action that you're asking people to take. It can be very one-dimensional and extremely focused to make it shine. And then adding details. So adding copy and keyword helps, right? Like I said, that text overlay, possibly closed captioning. And we have that details page here that you can see at the top that's on every single frame so that as people are going and flowing through the story pin, if they want to understand more about the supplies that you're using, they're able to really access it every step of the way. And finally, to add that call to action, you want that clear call to action at the end of your story pin so people know exactly what they're supposed to do next. They've come for inspiration, they've discovered your pin, they understand it's something they want to try, but at the end of watching it, encourage them to try. Give them that inspiration and that engagement to let you know that they're trying to actually play around with the content that you're creating. The last thing I want to discuss is just the Today tab, editorial creator features. And this is something that we love to work with our partners on to really amplify the content that you're creating on Pinterest. So we have our Today tab, which is a daily curation of relevant and trending content. It features spotlights from our inspirational creators. So we have things like these different boards. Here is one for National Black Business Month. We put together a Pinterest shop and you'll see recipes there. We also have idea streams, which are singular creator features through our story pins. And it's one of the first things users see when they tap over from their homepage, which is the For You, to the Today tab for daily inspiration. We curate these with themes every single day, and we love to include our creator content with that. So if you're a part of our Pinterest creators family, we will likely ask if you have content that you're interested in being featured. We will have some opportunities that are seasonal or theme-based. These are again in the food category, so recipe, seasonal ingredient. But Pinterest is such a moments-based platform that it's really our hope that as we go through those different themes of the day, we're able to access and amplify our creator partners' content. As a next step, we've got some FAQs on the left here, thinking about profile curation. We always get how often should we be adding and creating pins? We typically like to say 2 or 3 pins per week as a recommendation. But the main thing I want to highlight is that consistency is really key. So if you can only add 1 fresh new pin a week, keep it as such and continue to play around and save boards from other people's content as well. But if you're thinking about creating for Pinterest, it's keeping that consistent cadence of fresh content weekly. We have story pin drafts, so you can have drafts in your mobile and on your desktop. And with the exception of the cover page, you can edit your story pin once you've posted it. Those are kind of our big story pin FAQs. And then we've got some additional resources here on the right, which will allow you to get started and continue to answer any FAQs as you're creating on Pinterest. So that's it. I will stop sharing now and we can go through questions. I'm sure lots of people have questions.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Alex, for that great presentation. Very thorough. And yeah, we can just jump into the questions. I already see some in the chat. As a reminder to everyone, I will be sharing, this recording, end the presentation with you all and resources afterwards. So that will be sent to you by email. So don't worry. Yeah, I know you were taking notes, and if you didn't catch everything, you will get everything afterwards. Probably like, I do work full-time job. So after I'm off work, then I'll probably circulate this to everyone, but don't worry, you will get it. The first question is from Rogina. She asks, will story pins show up in a Google search like regular pins?
So as of right now, the story pins are set to show up in the results in like the search feed. I think as we continue to evolve the product, they'll start to show up as well. And I know I've seen with certain searches, there are things like YouTube videos and TikToks that start to show up as a singular video. As we continue to work with Google and amplify this product off platform, I'm sure we'll start to see that. But right now, it would show up as possibly a link, but it's not going to show up as the actual thumbnail.
Awesome, thank you. Wanja asks, does the story pin editing functionality have a music library and we can choose from it?
Yes, so we do have a music library. As of right now, it's not, it's more like your licensed instrumental music. We don't have licensing agreements with artists at this time, but there's still music that you can add and layer over on your story pins.
Thank you. Mandy asks, can you recycle your story to other platforms, and can you upload stories from your phone directly into the Pinterest platform?
Yes, so as of now, we're working on getting that save feature so that you can save the story pins and repurpose with purpose. Polly's heard that before from me a million times. I'm obsessed with, I understand creators are creating for, 4 or 5 platforms at a time. It's something that we're working on as an update. As of now, you can't save and repost other places, but that's coming, and it's coming soon. And you can upload stories from your phone. So if you use an app like InShot, let's say, and you're creating story pins or you're using Canva templates, etc., you're able to then take those frames and upload them into the story pins. You don't have to create native in the app. And then I also saw that you also asked, should we make most of our pinned inspiration boards public? And I would say that's really up to how comfortable you are. Understanding the creatives that you are, one thing I always like to share is that if you're working on something for inspiration, that's like a mood board, and you're working on it in real time and it's live, you likely want to keep that private. But if you want to then make it public and change the title or have like a board that's like past work and be able to feature that publicly to show people how you actually get to your inspiration, that's always my recommendation.
Thank you so much. We have a question from Ash. I have an account that gets a lot of traffic, but it's very random. So I'm trying to shift into a more focused account. Should I keep all of the things that get me traffic, or I'm scared to delete because I know my old stuff still gets traffic because of this?
Yes, so don't delete your old content. Content is truly evergreen on Pinterest. So it's not the same as the different social media platforms where like an Instagram after 48 hours, people might never see it again. So really don't delete that. If there's anything that you feel no longer resonates or it's not getting hits and you want to clean up your profile, I always say archive, because that's not truly deleting it, and you'll still have that like algorithm monthly view metrics go back to your analytics historically. So don't delete, archive if you want to get rid of old things, but if it's still getting hits, absolutely keep it public, because that's bringing people to your page.
Amazing, thank you. I got a question from Malachi. When creating the story pin, do you have to have all parts accessible on your desktop to upload instead of having to do searches? And is there a limit to how many boards you can create?
With a business account, there's no limit to how many boards you create. So I'll answer that. Maybe thinking of like looking for some more clarity when you're creating a story pin, do you have all parts accessible on your desktop? Do you mean like if you're uploading from your photo library on your phone, do you have to have it all ready to go on your phone? Or I'm trying to, I don't really understand the question. So I would ask for
Okay,
some more clarity.
I decided to speak.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, that picture right there is one of my photographs that
Oh
says
my gosh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's one of my, I'm a photojournalist. Okay. I'm also on social media 24/7. I have about 10 social media pages, from Instagram to I don't even know what.
Oh
And
my
what
goodness.
tends to happen is, since I'm very politically oriented, whenever I post something, I post it across all my social media pages because and I'm generally on my phone when I do that because I've got all these apps accessible. You hit the right little icon and blam, all these apps are available. It says share with. You hit that icon and you've got like 20 apps in front of you. Now, I don't
Mhm.
have pages on all 20 of those apps, but about 9 or 10 of them I do. And Pinterest is one of them. And so it's and also on my blog. So it I get a lot of hits, and sometimes I get hits from things that I have to scratch my head and remember, when did I post that? But
Mhm.
sometimes I have a subject and it doesn't have it doesn't have a name, so I have to create a board for it because I can tell by the subject matter that I'm going to be posting to it more often. So when I get ready to share something, I hit my little Pinterest icon on my phone and it opens up all of my pages that I have, and then I get to pick whether or not I'm going to share across 2 or 3 of my boards or even more. But now with this story pin thing and with the business app, since I'm a photojournalist, I'm going to have to really think about that because I think I accidentally created two Pinterest pages, and one of them is under an old email address. I have to figure that out.
Gotcha.
But however, what I was talking about is, say I want to do something with video and I want to put some music under it and I want to show a certain set of photographs. Do I have to have all those photographs and all of that little video clip and all of that soundtrack for that music, just like I'm in Premiere and I'm building a video? Do I have to have that right on my desktop so that when I'm creating this story page, I don't have to go and search for the music? I can just reach and grab, bam, and put that page together and then put it out there. Is that
Oh,
what you were saying?
yeah.
I don't
So, I
know.
mean, you can do that. That seems to be easier than you trying to do searches throughout your computer or different files or folders to find it. So, I would say save it to your desktop in a folder so that you can access it that way. I always know when I'm uploading, if there's something specific that I'm not going to post right away, like I'm doing a recipe and I have that broken down by images or video as I'm tracking it. I put those on my phone in like a separate album. I
Right,
create an album for it so that it's just in there. I don't have to sift through the
right.
other screenshots and photos that I know I'm taking. And that's how I approach it. And I find it's a lot cleaner approach.
Okay, so my second question, and then I'm going to be quiet because I love
No
everything I'm
problem.
hearing. Since I think I've accidentally created a new Pinterest page, which I'm using more, I think it's two separate email addresses, and I have to figure out what the password was, or if it was the same password. I don't even know. I'm gonna have to figure that out. But now, if I want to create a business page that's 3 Pinterest pages, um, there's only one Pinterest app. I mean, how am I gonna make sure, uh, uh, probably by password, huh? Which one I'm going to? Okay, the business page
Yeah,
will have
you'll
specific content, and then I'll remember the password for the business page, and oh, it's gonna
yeah,
get
I would
complicated.
say try to think about it by password, or if you're building this third profile, that's a business one, create a new Gmail account and make it very specific to what that business is. So you know exactly if you're
Right,
logged in under that email, what it is.
right. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. I'm gonna keep it moving on. So Wanja asks, when you create your business account, is it creating a new account under your personal account?
So if you are creating a business account, that would create, if you're net new creating a business account, that would create a brand new account. It might actually tell you if you're using the same email that you're unable to create an account because you already have a personal. So you would have to either use a new email or convert your personal into a business account. Does
Awesome.
that I think we skipped a couple questions.
Yes, I just realized that. Come back to the top. Daniela asks, should your profile page have only work you've created, or should it also have content you saved from others?
So this is actually an interesting question, because this is a new change that's happened on the profile. You can have everything, because now when people come to your profile, we've broken it out into created and saved. So when they come to your profile, what they'll see first is what you've created, your personal content, and then there's another tab that's saved. So you can do both, and we've now broken that out for you, and your audience can tinker between both tabs.
Amazing. J. Pamela asks, how have you found organizations, nonprofits, schools, magazines, etc., are using the platform?
So we actually have started, this is a really timely question. We of course work with organizations, nonprofits, schools, etc. But given, the state of the last year and how everybody's been at home and things have really been changing, they've worked with us twofold. So they've worked with us because, Pinterest is a very well-known and reliable traffic driver. So if they have new information to share or articles or trying to drive traffic back to their website, they'll do that. They'll do so through static pins and continuing to update consistent content that's relevant to the conversation that they're hoping to have and draw audiences back. Now, they've also, with story pins, because as of right now, they don't link out, they've also used story pins for things like educational templates, where people can take a screenshot and actually print out those templates, and then they can have, that 10 or now 20 templatized pieces of educational material that others can find and discover and use. But then they'll also do things like, listicles, like the Fast Five, or if there's something in current events going on, sharing that information in a more listicle way through story pins, than not necessarily having that like call to action that we talked about. So it's a little bit different than what we've discussed as creators, but there's still very strong use cases. And magazines and publishing partners are like some of our closest partners, because again, there is that traffic driver piece, and people are coming and engaging with their content on Pinterest because it is so inspirational, and people really use Pinterest as a learning resource and tool.
Amazing, thank you. Taylor asks, do you recommend pinning from your Instagram or website using the Google Chrome shortcut, or should I create pins directly?
That really is like that Google Chrome shortcut, we approve it. The same with third-party partners like Tailwind, if anybody is familiar, where you can schedule pins to post consistently throughout the week, month, year. So those are our partners. And it won't make a difference to the algorithm or how you're creating if that's how you're doing it. The one thing I'll say with Instagram, more so than a website, is that when you click to post from Instagram, make sure you're tweaking that description and like your title and description to think about those SEO and those keywords, because a caption you might place on Instagram might not necessarily have the same impact or give people the same insight into what that photo or video is about on Pinterest.
Amazing. Daniela asks, when uploading, is there a required size? Because some of the images I've tried uploading get the colors messed up.
Yes, there are specs. So I will be able to, that should be in the FAQs on the links of those like business for Pinterest communities. But let me call that out when I share this all with you, Polly.
Amazing, thank you. We have just about 20 minutes. So again, if you have any questions, drop it in the chat. We're putting her in the hot seat and she's answering them all at this time. So we're gonna keep it moving. Another question from Wanja is, sometimes it feels like pins I've saved in some of my Pinterest board disappear. I found that some pins I've saved in some boards are no longer there.
That's probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my assumption with that would be that the people either archived them or deleted them. So those specific pins that were once on your board are now gone because the original owner of that content has deleted it or archived it.
Thank you. Mandy has another question. Do we have to have everything queued up and ready to go to post into the Pinterest storyboard, or can you add a story, leave the app, and it can hold your spot?
Yeah, so you can save drafts now. On desktop, it's unlimited. And here with story in this latest deck, it says 1 in your mobile phone, but let me confirm if that's since been updated. I don't want to say yes for sure, but I know that this is a conversation that's been going on. So that actually might have been updated to the point that you can save more than 1 draft.
Amazing. I know when I was literally in the middle of creating my story for the International Women's Day, my phone died, and and when I turned my phone back on, it was still there. So I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
good.
yep. So I was so worried
I
about
love that.
Let's see, there's another question. If you have more than one Pinterest page, how do you decide which page will get sent content?
I think that's really, that's a call that you need to consider and make. I think some of the things that I would think about is one profile more relevant to the content on your blog than the other? Is there a way that you can maybe have like one dominant Pinterest profile, but a call to action either on your blog, or if you have a page that you kind of share your social media profiles, including both of them with a little disclaimer that you have a secondary profile? I think that's really up to you to decide which page you're going to be actually driving that specific blog content to. And if it's both, then finding out what that call to action is to be able to let people know that you're actually diversifying the content.
Yes, I cannot agree more. Mandy asks, can you follow and can you tag fellow creators in pins and stories?
Yes. So that is a new feature. You can tag fellow creators and you can tag products coming soon. Polly just did a really great International Women's Day program with us where we had our creators talk about who they are, why they create, and who inspires them with that. We call it the at mention, that little at mention feature. So you can actually tag people and give that call to action to click on it and visit their profile and follow them as well.
Yes, that was so much fun.
It was awesome.
Another question from Taylor. I'm trying to determine my goals on Pinterest as I get a lot of traffic currently. In what ways have you seen photographers specifically grow income from Pinterest, or do you have ideas that could contribute to that? Would you say it's best for mainly growing an audience?
Yeah, so I think there's a few ways that you can earn income from Pinterest. I think the first one would be to consider creating that really informative, educational, value-based content. So I remember with Polly, I keep using you as an example, Polly, but we have now a long-standing history. I remember with Polly when we first started talking about how she could leverage Pinterest for Black women photographers, I had said to her that, it's not just about showing your portfolio and your profile. There is that component, and that is incredible because that is the core of your business. Like, this is my portfolio. This is the type of work I can do for you. Hit the website in my profile and we can talk if there's an opportunity to work together. So there's that work stream. But then there's also this work stream to think about how to be a photographer as an educator. So giving the how-to tips, the tutorials, what products you use, what brands for which type of photography feature, et cetera. Are there different verticals, like I said, with food styling, home decor, things like that? And that's where you start to, or you can start to think about, are there partners that make sense to do sponsored Pinterest posts? So we do have brands that want to work with us and work with our creators to do sponsored content on Pinterest because your audience numbers are there. The intent is very high when people come to Pinterest. So the likelihood that they'll, continue to click through and find a product for purchase. So I would say that's another way that you can think about it, is how can you diversify your content, but also getting started, like almost brand it. Like if you use a Canon camera or a Sony camera, like speaking to the actual type of camera you're using, and then starting to go out and pitch brands to, this is the type of content that I've made on Pinterest. These are the metrics that they're getting. Let's work together. Here's, what I'm thinking as a content idea.
Well said. And I cannot stress all of that enough. And also, just the way of the game is consistency, as Alex has said. So whenever you do launch a series, or whenever you do, decide to provide value in whatever your expertise is on the platform, please, please, please try to be as consistent as possible, because that's the only way you can actually grow and get to that point of, maybe sponsored posts or et cetera, et cetera. Gonna keep asking these rapid fire questions. We have about 10 minutes more to go. Wanda asks, how would one go about reaching out to a brand in that way?
Honestly, I don't know about everybody here, but if I've ever, I'm a content creator in my like 5 to 9 life, similar to Polly. I have my full-time job here, but I also make content myself. Um, I've like gone as far as to DM them, try to like Google the brand and see if there's an email or someone on LinkedIn. Like I've gotten a little bit scrappy with that, to be honest. Um, otherwise, unless you have a manager or a PR, like PR connections that you work with, and you have like an up-to-date client list of who they represent, I would say get scrappy with it. Try and find them on Instagram, shoot your shot in a DM, ask for an email, and send them that pitch.
Yeah, I mean, just think about it the way you think about how you're trying to contact like a photo editor, for example. You want to figure out who is that editor, figure out their email, figure out, a best practices in the sense of like how you're going to actually present. And, as Alex has been mentioning, that call to action, what is it that you're trying to get out of this? Is it just that, one-time thing, or is it a long-term relationship or whatever? How are you going to, add value to that brand? And really just have that deck in a sense prepared with all those questions answered for them. I think it'd be easier, but also if you haven't already been using the platform, I would just make sure that you have some presence on the platform already established, where they can get a feel, like what Alex was saying earlier about your personality and what you offer to them. So thank you, Wandra, for that question. Let's see. Yes. Love it. Are there any other burning questions? Taylor, I see you typing. Are you taking notes? Or are you have a burning question?
Oh, thanks, Taylor. I know she really right on there.
Taylor
You
is ready
got
for
it.
this. She hit me up about this like a month or two ago, and so she's been ready for this.
Yes,
Awesome.
can I say something? Oh,
Yes,
sorry,
go
to my
ahead.
mask off. Hi, everyone. Yes, so like my Pinterest just like someone else said, just kind of grew out of nowhere. And I've been trying to figure out how do I leverage it? How do I grow it? And when I saw Polly was speaking about this, I knew it was so aligned. So thank you, Polly, so much, and Alex for sharing this, because I think it is such a great avenue for women of color, Black photographers in general to really tap into. So I'm definitely going to take this knowledge and share it with my friends, all my
Oh,
photographer friends and
good.
everything as well. So thank you.
Of course, thank
Amazing.
you. No, I'm happy to be here, and Polly knows if as she gets questions or there's follow-up, she can definitely reach out to me. I'm one call away, basically one email away. But I'm here to just really support everybody's work, and I want you to find success on the platform. I think we've got such a unique platform in that it is this odd intersection of inspiration and social media. Like I call it personally inspirational media, because I think there are ways to build a brand and build a monetized audience, like an engaged audience to the point that you can monetize. And so like every brand is on Pinterest. It's not Instagram. So people don't necessarily think about monetizing it, but you absolutely can. And I think now people and brand partners, for example, on our sales side, now this is therapy. On our sales side, we're getting so many more RFPs asking for Pinterest creators. And specifically, how can our advertising partners integrate a creator campaign and program into their advertising approach?
Amazing. Have one more question related to Pinterest. How does engagement look on Pinterest and saved posts?
Yeah, so we typically will look at impressions and saved posts, and then you can get more granular depending on the type. It might not be as relevant for this group. But for example, if I go back to the food example, like there's tries. So if people try it and upload their images on your post that they tried it, but really it's about saved posts and impressions. So the number of eyeballs on it and who's actually saving it into what relevant boards. And the best way to build a brand, I would say, I think that's a different conversation, but I'm happy to low key answer it. I think it's like you have to start creating, and this applies beyond Pinterest. Like I would say create, but find what's working, see where those metrics, those impressions, those saves, the time spent on videos are, and like lean into those topics to see if that helps you build an engaged audience.
Definitely.
And that will help you build your brand.
Got a question from Ash. So archive posts still show up on Pinterest, but not on your profile.
So archive posts won't show up on Pinterest. Like you will see that you have archive boards or pins. They'll kind of go to like the bottom of your profile, but they won't show up on Pinterest moving forward.
Amazing. If we have one or two more questions, we can take them. If you haven't already, drop your Pinterest in the chat. We can take a look afterwards. And again, I will be emailing all of this out to you all, so don't worry. But it's easier when you do it. First, you have to the first step is just doing it and taking that leap to actually start creating. And then you'll see how much easier it gets with time. If there are no other questions, then I can definitely give Alex Silver time back for the day. But
of course.
Just want to give it one last chance, one last call for questions.
And I will drop this is my Pinterest profile here. And I know Polly will share this, but
yes,
I'm Lex Nico everywhere. That's just my life.
So one more question from Mandy. So having followers is important on Pinterest too. And is that how you get impressions?
So what's unique about Pinterest is that it's not actually as much about followers as it is about the impressions and the content you make, because that drives the monthly views. So if you go to your Pinterest profile, you have your follower count and who your following number count, but it also shows your monthly views. And that is really important because that means how many people are discovering your content and visiting your profile, saving your content, etc. It's an aggregate of those things. And that really is what helps drive our algorithm. If people are engaging with your content, it's going to amplify your content in the search results, in the home feed. Is there a good number? So that's the one thing I can't speak to is benchmarking or impressions. I would say that if you're seeing growth, talk about the growth. Don't worry so much on the followers. That will come with time as you're building those monthly views. But I don't have a firm number that I can share on what that benchmarking average is to then go out to advertisers.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for setting this up, Polly. This was so great.
You were amazing as always. And thank you everyone for your questions. Again, I will be emailing this all out after I get off of work. That way you can all start, jotting more notes down and probably think about things that you may have missed and actually get started with the platform. So again, thank you, Alex, for your time. And thank you everyone so much for joining us.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Polly.